I know my tie and shirt combo is not the most exciting. However, this was actually the outfit I wore on my first meeting in UPUA. Also the outfit I wore on election night, so I thought it was only fitting to wear it tonight as well. So, I have watched it. But first, the one thing I want to report on really quick before I go into my last couple words for you guys. This past week was the Board of Trustees meeting. And during the trustee meeting, one of the major things they did was restructure the committees within the board. There are now 5 standing committees on the Board of Trustees. That passed, which was really great, but the one thing that was huge for us moving forward in the future of student engagement at Penn State is the fact that currently every committee is set up to have a student representative, a faculty representative, and a staff representative on the committee. 3 of the 5 are going to implement that as of May of this year. So the 3 student government presidents will have a spot on one of the 3 committees that are allowing us to do this. So it's one of the hugest moves that we've made in terms of access to the Board of Trustees in a long time. So I'm really excited about that. It was one of the 6 points for change. Nice little plug there. But the expectation is if all goes well with these 3, we will push for the final 2 then, as well as increased voices on the Board of Trustees. So it's a huge step forward, and it was very good to see that the board was committed to having this kind of engagement, and I hope that they continue to work towards more student engagement. So with that, I'll go into my hopefully not so long Nick Rossetti farewell speech. So like I said, I was thinking back on how I first came in UPUA, so I'm going to reminisce a little bit. But so when I first came to UPUA, it was my first week of freshman year, and I was walking through Finland Commons trying to find the computer lab, which I couldn't seem to find. I stopped by a table just to ask for directions. There was a table set up, and I was like, all right, these guys, they probably know where to go. Little did I know where that simple question would eventually take me. So sitting at the table was then Representative Katie Perugini, who was trying to solicit freshman involvement in this crazy thing called UPUA. We began just to informally talk about where I was from and how I got to Penn State. She asked one simple question that I'll never forget. So what do you want to do during your time at Penn State? I answered simply and naively by saying, I want to make a difference somehow. With that storybook-like transition, she informed me of what UPUA was and what they did on campus. She handed me an application and told me that if I was interested, I should apply for a freshman spot. Like a little giddy kid, I was really excited and I ran straight back to fill it out. Honestly though, I would really love to see that application now because I can't even imagine how I filled out the answers knowing so little about Penn State.
I have that application.
Alright, so I'll read it. I do remember never having a resume until I had to fill out my application for UPUA. However, I made one up and I submitted a resume that ended up being 3 pages of bullet points filled with things like friend of Oprah, school board member, and youngest real estate agent in the world. The interview was intense, and Mark Cannon scared me to death when I stumbled through the naming of 6 academic colleges at Penn State. It's still, yeah, he does still scare me. I remember talking to Colleen Cannon outside before going in, but not sharing too many specifics about the interview because we both knew we were in competition for the same spot. That night, I got an email from Colleen Smith informing me that I was selected as the freshman rep, and my Penn State career changed in that moment. Serving in UPUA the past 3 years have been some of the most memorable and life-changing experiences for me. During my first year, from being screamed at during debate as a freshman and passed nasty notes in assembly about how I didn't know anything, to even hating Adam Boyer for a short time. Now, 3 years later, sitting in front of you tonight, giving my last presidential report. This year has proven to be one of the most physically and mentally exhausting ones of my life. However, I would not trade it for anything in the world. This year has demonstrated to me that no matter what your definition of leadership is now, it will always be changing and evolving. This year has taught me what it truly means to be a Penn Stater. This year has taught me how incredibly amazing our vast Penn State community can be. Swearing you all in last March was one of my favorite Penn State experiences to date. Never could we ever have imagined what would occur to our dear old state but a few short months later. However, I can never begin to thank each of you enough for your leadership during the darkest hours in Penn State's history. You, the students, stepped up when this university effectively had no public leadership. We were the ones sharing the Penn State story, defending our alma mater to millions, and trying to explain what it really meant to bleed blue and white. We transformed 314 Hub into a war room for almost 3 weeks. We had phones going off what seemed every couple of minutes and received thousands of emails. Mallory Reed even wrote up some strongly worded instructions that informed everyone to, under no circumstance, give away my number and how to properly take a message, even from angry and distraught people. That note still makes me laugh today, and I have a picture of it on my phone. I was threatened and sent some of the nastiest things you could ever imagine. However, as bad as that was, I received hundreds of emails from alumni, families of students, and fellow peers sharing with me what it meant to them to be a Penn Stater. We had to explain to the world what Penn State was when no one else did. One thing that will stick with me forever was talking to Dr. Phil while filming during a commercial break, and him personally thanking me and the student governments at Penn State for our leadership. He said that he had been following us for a couple days, and the students had effectively been the only ones leading the national conversation. I think in that moment, it finally hit me how big this entire thing had become. From CNN to CBS, NBC, Howard Stern, and even SportsCenter, we've had to explain to millions who we are. And I am so grateful and proud for your leadership and the leadership of the students during this tough year. That is what UPUA is about, being the voices of students at every level possible, being the student voice in small committees within the university, to even being the voice sometimes to the world. That is what we are about. I have appointed some 22 plus of you to various committees, boards, and programs within Penn State. Each one of you charged with representing the student voice and making decisions affecting the future of our institution. Some are confidential and some not. However, regardless if your role will make the front page of the paper or not, know that that is where our power is found. We aren't the University Park Allocation Committee or the Student Programming Association. We are the student government at University Park. Our duty is to represent the student voice and to lead our student population. While funding and supporting groups, as well as providing programs on campus is a crucial part of what we do for the students at Penn State, I ask that in the coming year, you focus on being a stronger voice where it counts most. I charge each of you to continue to fight for students to play a bigger role within shared governance of Penn State. Continue to ask and advocate for a seat at the table and a voice within the inner workings of Penn State. This coming year will be one of the most crucial for the future of UPUA and for student engagement at Penn State. I hope that each of you continue to represent and expand your role within this university. We have made more progress than ever before these past few months. However, we still have much work to do. I'm still committed to leading the 6 Points for Change in the coming year, as well as heading up the State Patty's Day Task Force for 2013. I will be transitioning into some different leadership roles for next year, but will continue to fight and represent the student voice at Penn State. I want to sincerely thank each of you for giving me this opportunity in my life. I have had some of my favorite memories of all time with you and shared some of the most stressful points in my life. But at the end of the day, I'm incredibly proud of all of you. This year has been a defining year in my life, and I'm sure in many of yours. Know that things we have learned will follow us forever. I am grateful and hopeful for the future of UPUA. We have a unique opportunity in front of us, and I hope that student government at Penn State takes advantage of it. Thank you personally to Kelly, Courtney, Will, all of steering, my entire exec, and all of you. I have been honored and humbled by my experience with you all, and I have truly never been prouder to be a Penn Stater. I hope that someday I'm able to look back at how I answered that question posed by Katie Perugini my freshman year, and know that in some capacity, big or small, I was able to make a difference for Penn State. So thank you. Thank you very much.